Why would you allow a rebel government to come and set up here, announce here, to go and destabilize a friendly neighboring country? If it's not for the benefit of the people, it can only be a personal conflict, a personal interest.
Hi everyone and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa. Super excited to host one of the youngest MPs we have. He calls himself a Gen Z. He will tell us why. Maybe he has love for Gen Zs now, but obviously he's a Gen Z at heart, not in real life. I think the Gen Z in that would be Salasia. How are you, Mahesh?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you, Sarah, for inviting me to the Alfa, the good old Alfa house.
Yes.
I'm very excited. I'm happy to join you as we discuss matters national, matters local, matters politics,
Yes.
matters economics, matters law, and educate our people.
Yes, we need to do that every opportunity that we get as Kenyans for sure.
Absolutely.
So the status of Kenya as we are, how would you, sometimes it's even hard to know where to start, but how would you rate the way Kenya is now at the moment?
Oh, very well. I think we are doing very poorly, indeed, and with a lot of disappointments and with a lot of misgivings. And I'm saying that, number one, as a founder member of the ruling party.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
And the person who crafted the constitution of the party, crafted the manifesto, had very many sleepless nights trying to make sure that the aspirations of our people are captured in letter and in spirit. And also coalescing and galvanizing everybody from the top to the bottom to rally around the constitution of the UDA and the manifesto. And more so also because of the words, the things which we went out and told the people that we are the agents of the change which they wanted. So as of now, sadly, I don't think that's where we are. So just to answer your question, the state of the nation as of now is full of disappointments. Every day you read a newspaper article or even social media, nothing positive. But I am also here to tell the people, all is not lost. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And we need to remain resilient. We need to remain focused. We need to have that hope that tomorrow will be much, much better. And then also very importantly, we also learn that it's not about taking over power. It's about who is taking power and what is the DNA of the person who is taking power. Because you may find that we'll be changing people. Even if we fight and change people, the same people do the same thing again and again. I think Kenyans, we are what we call in the school of hard knocks.
Hard knocks proper. And Mheshimiwa, you are one of the drafters of UDA manifesto. Is this what you people are working for, or what is that thing that you put in that manifesto and what convinced you that was going to work, and how did that shift in between that now it's not working as was agreed?
I like that conversation because what you find is that we are dealing with many peripheral issues, the aftermath issues, but you're not dealing with the genesis of the issues. Because when we sat down as a team with the current sitting president, there was a lot of genuineness coming from his heart. In fact, at one time he was saying he is the second Kibaki.
You believed it was genuine at that point?
Without a doubt, Sarah. And every conversation, every issue we touch, every topic we touch, you find that he was very, very far apart from what was going on. And remember, he even insisted that we need to come up with a progressive constitution to break the past whereby every election cycle we have a new party, but the same people. And that's why we ban out the midnight oil to ensure that we have extremely progressive constitution and the UDA party. And again, we ban out midnight oil to extrapolate the constitution aspiration and put it in our manifesto on what we call a working paper. And the soul and the DNA of the UDA party, we wanted two things. Number one, to put money in people's pockets. That was the current core. We had no other agenda. We were coming to put money in people's pockets.
But you've been taking away money from our pockets.
It's not me, please. Sarah.
It's the government.
Be fair. You're asking me a question on the genesis. I'm taking you through.
Okay.
So I'm giving you the synopsis and the DNA of the party which is currently ruling. Therefore, the viewers can make judgment. The other cog was what you call personal liberty. Personal liberty. In a way, we were saying, look, we will never stifle democracy. We will never stifle freedom of expression. We will never criminalize politics, and we will never victimize people for expressing their views, positive or negative. Those are our principles in our manifesto. Now, I know the question that you like to ask me, what happened?
Yes, it's good.
The question you want to ask me is, what happened? What happened, Sarah? It's very simple. Remember, there is the word and the letter. And then there is the spirit behind it. That's number one. And number two, there is something we call fidelity of the word and the letter. At the moment you lose the fidelity of the word and the letter, you fail to honor what you have said in letter and in word. That is the genesis of a failure. Because what happens simply is like a plane being up in the air, cruising without a radar. You don't know whether you're going to find a storm, or you're going to find a mountain, or you're going to find a sea. You are radarless. And therefore, as a captain, if you're flying a plane without a radar, you are not only risking yourself, you're also risking the people who are behind you. Our problem, Sarah, is failing to remain faithful to what we promised the people in letter and in word.
You know, you are the MP for Gatanga, and people in Gatanga elected you because they believed in what you promised them as an MP, and of course they believed in the president. So when you look at these things as one of the drafters of the UDA manifesto and constitution, and you see there is failure, as you've referred to it as there is no radar, what happens? Because now you're the people we entrust as MPs. So the people of Gatanga and us as citizens who entrust you.
There we are. And that's a very, very valid question, Sarah, because in the event of the captain leading a plane without a radar, as I said earlier, he does not only risk his own life, he risks the life of his own crew, because as members of parliament, we're his crew. We're the one who take care. When the captain is down there, punching all those buttons and listening to the control towers, our work is to relay the message which the captain at the cockpit is telling us. He's telling us that we are cruising at 40,000 feet above sea level. We expect a bit of turbulence along the way, but nothing to worry about. You just need to sit, relax, and enjoy the ride. He can only be able to say that if he's certain where he's taking us. And that's why as a crew, we take the same message to our passengers in our plane. Now, and that's why there's a bit of disconnect, because the captain told us that when we support him, number one, and get votes for him. And for me, I did not only got vote for him, but I even put my own resources to build the party. Remember, even today, I know I'm sure I'm going to be kicked out because I'm not towing the party line. I'm going to be kicked out from the National Executive Council, the highest organ in the party. I'm in charge of legal affairs in that organization. So I never called for meeting. But that's beside the point. But the point here is very simple. Because remember, as I said, a manifesto is a collective document binding all the people who believes in that kind of movement, the Kenya Kwanza, the UDA party. And the captain is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's the one who's holding all the radar, and he conveys a message to us as his crew to give to the passengers. Those are the citizens. I want to break it down so at least people can be able to understand. Now, when he comes to my constituency in Gatanga, and he tells the people, I'm going to finish all my Mau roads. The road from Wandohi, going all the way to Diara, 14.5 kilometers, I'm going to do it. And he even tells my constituents, you people, are you the one who keep on sending this MP of yours to keep on disturbing me? Because whenever we meet, he reminds me about this road. Whenever we meet, even have a phone call, he reminds me, Your Excellency, don't forget about that, the Mau roads, which you promised the people. He comes to the constituency and tells the people, look, if you are the one who send him to me, do not worry. I take upon myself, is my personal debt, I build that road. When 2.5 years that road has not been built, me as a member of parliament, the marker can be able to tell them, look, the president came, he promised, has he delivered? We are hopeful, very hopeful indeed, Sarah, that even the promises which the president has given, be it on water, be it on roads, be it on electricity, be it on TVETs and the like, they are going to be fulfilled. We are still hopeful because we cannot lose hope. Remember, our people are still looking up to us to ensure. And me as a member of parliament, I am in those offices each and every day, reminding the CSs, the PSs in those respective ministries that you promise people X and the people are waiting. So we have not given up hope. There are many things which have fallen off fallen off the table. And a good example is what the monster we are seeing here called SHA. Maybe bring you close to, because again, I thought, let's not dwell on what you're seeing in the papers, but we don't need to tell the people the genesis. I'll tell you this, Sarah. When you read our manifesto, the UD manifesto, we talk about two things. We talk about housing, and we talk about universal, affordable health. Those two elements, those two factors were, number one, the housing was supposed to spur growth in our local industries, whereby it's our local carpenters, our local fundis, our local manufacturers who are going to be part and parcel in terms of supplying all these goods to create employment from the lower level to upper level. Remember, in a construction site, you have the workers themselves, you have the consultants, you have everybody. And there's the industry around it. So it's a very good idea. But the question is, did our manifesto say that we are supposed to charge people 2.75% of their salaries to build houses? No. The arrangement was, when we get an opportunity to lead, we are supposed to do what we call a budgetary allocation for affordable housing.
But it's the MPs who passed the law.
I'm coming there. That's I'm talking about the manifesto. Remember, I want to do the genesis.
The issue,
that
yes.
is the genesis. Same case with affordable,
Chief.
with affordable or universal health. There was nowhere in our manifesto where we said we are going to increase taxes to be able to fund these things. You continue to pay your 300, 400, but the government chips in, so at least the offerings in the medical cover becomes enlarged. Now, and why was it like that? It's because, remember, the spirit of the UDA party was to put money in people's pockets. Now, there's no way we would have said we want to put the people money in people's pocket as our clarion call. Then on the other hand, on the left hand, we are telling people we want money for housing, we want money for medical. And that's why I said our problem is lack of fidelity and faithfulness to what we wrote in our manifesto and what we've been telling the people.
How do you think Kenyans would trust you, not generally, like basically you as a person, but basically as a UDA, if that is what you wrote? How can we then be sure the writing did not have the back door of how are we going to do this? Because now, if that is what is happening, and it actually went through Parliament for that matter, and you and your fellow MPs voted to have people have money, you don't see there's a gap there for us as citizens to trust?
Let me say this. When we went for our first PG meeting, and there was a proposal to tax money on health and to tax on housing, and the president said, we promised people housing, we promised people universal health, but the way the economy is, the way our budget allocation is, it's not something we can be able to sustain. And since I want to proceed with this, I think we need to increase the taxes for us to be able to do it. Many of us objected, me being the one of them, and told him, look, I think, number one, we might be going against the spirit of our constitution and what we promise the people. Number two, we have come from a COVID situation. People have lost jobs and incomes. We have come, then from there, we have jumped into general elections. And then general elections in Kenya do not spur economy, it depresses the economy. Then 1 year after the election, we are telling the people, we want to tax you on 1, 2, 3. Of course, remember, we are in a democracy. Even if you air your disappointments, even if you air your number one, remember we are in a democracy, and the minority have their say and the majority have their way. That's number one. Number two, also remember, I am a member of a party, and in what you call democratic societies, people are whipped along the party policies. All right? People are whipped, the members of parliament are whipped along the party policies. Remember, you've been sponsored to parliament by a party. And if the party happens to say, this is the direction we're going to take, we are bound by the party. So just to answer your question on why you found certain things happening in parliament, and you wonder, okay, you said this, but you voted for the other. It's a party position. But finally, on the third issue, remember, is a new president, is a new captain of this plane. You are giving him the benefit of doubt. Even you yourself, when you're saying, but Your Excellency, why are we negating on our manifesto? And it takes time to convince and explain. If you put yourself in an MP's shoes, and being the president, you assume he has a superior knowledge of this issue than you do. You have aired your issue, you have aired your concern, but if you find it's undermined, what do? You just comply and move on and give him what you call the benefit of doubt. Now, the benefit of that doubt on issue of taxation was put before the Kenyan people. And the Kenyan people soundly agreed with us that they cannot be able to pass what you call further taxation on our people. And that's why you found the Gen Z on the streets demonstrating, because they lost faith in the members of parliament, because the members of parliament were whipped along the party lines and agreed to vote for the oppressive bill. At the same time, they wanted to liberate their country, and that's why you find now at this juncture that benefit of doubt, which most of us members of parliament were giving our leader, our party leader, has been eroded to almost nothing.
And maybe the final question around this, people would want to understand, you have NEC, which is like the topmost of party leadership, right? So do you people have these conversations at that level, so that even when you're having your PGs, of course, we know it's more political, but NEC is expected to be like where key issues are raised. So, and when you have these issues, and let's say maybe all NEC members, except for, say, the captain here, feels otherwise, what happens?
I'm not very old in politics. I'm learning along the way. But I've come to learn something, that politics of the day takes the personality of the captain. And what do I mean? What I mean is, if the captain is a micromanager, everybody else fold their hands and wait for the captain to give them direction, irrespective of the fact that those institutions are supposed to be more creative in terms of generating policies and giving direction to the party. That's the kind of nature you have in Kenya politics today. Our captain has a hand in each and every activity in this country.
And
be it the party, be it in parliament, be it in the ministries, be it in the judiciary, he has his hands everywhere. This is a captain who wakes up, and I hear from people, he can call you anytime. It doesn't matter who you are. He has a number for everybody. Whether you are manager, whether you are PS, whether you are CS, whether you are chairman of this committee, whether you are whatever, he has your number and he prevails. I give a very simple story. Very simple story.
That you've been called.
Give a simple story. Last week, we had a very interesting scenario in Parliament because there was a general reorganization of the committees. And some of us who have said no to bad rule, so who have said no to failing to adhere to a manifesto, are being treated as rebels. But yes, we are saying we are rebels, but we are the axis of resistance from bad governance. Now what happened? I come to the story. The people who are, there are two camps, or let me say three camps. There is what we call the Wamonyoro camp. The people who supported Rigathi Gachagua and refused to be bribed, refused to be coerced to vote for his impeachment. That is members in Parliament and members in the Senate. And we're about like 44 of us. And those 44 people who voted against the impeachment of Gachagua have now been de-whipped and removed from their respective committees, which they earned by being members of UDA party and being members of a ruling party. Myself, I was in Justice and Legal Committee, where I had to give my all in terms of my legal expertise. But now I've been thrown to take care of parliamentary library. It's not a bad job. I love reading. I love taking care of reading. But over and above that, I must also be taking care of the mics in Parliament, whether those mics are working. It's fine. I've no complaint. But again, there are some people who are very hurt. Now, so what happened is that before we went inside the house, there were members who were feeling they need to give a press conference and say, no, we are in these committees of budget, we are in these committees of finance, we are in this committee of transport, we are in this committee of park and peak, by right of our vote for supporting the president in the 2022 election. And and I want to agree with them 100%. And therefore, removal of certain people as a punishment, that, and also to be able to bring in The ODM members, that one, we want to say no. When they were preparing to go for the press conference, the person who was convening it received a phone call from State House. So and so, how are you? What are you doing there? What is this I'm hearing? Want to do? Can you please disband that meeting and that call of that press conference immediately? What will you do? That tells you that he has tentacles in each and every activity which happens. And that's a very minor issue. And what I'm trying to say, the current government has taken shape of the nature and character of the captain. On one hand, you have a written letter and word, and on the other hand, he's doing something different. So, therefore, that is the kind of scenario which you're having. And that's why you cannot even predict what will happen tomorrow, either in parliament or in government. Because, for example, like right now, the ODM party, who are our competitors in the election, they are holding almost 50% of the seats in parliament. They are the one who are chairing budget. They are the CSAs in finance. They are the CSAs in energy. Now, this is the same government which we fought to the nail to cover, but what has happened? The opposition has come in. Remember, this same captain who is on record, who said that in his regime, he will never entertain handshake. This is the same captain who used to accuse Uhuru for running a government. He was calling it a mongrel of a government. He does not know whether it is a government, whether it is an opposition, is a mix and match of both, and that's why he was calling it a mongrel. That's where we are right now. You see, a word on one hand and an action on the other. And that's why the country is, just to answer your question, it's in a total confusion. If I were the captain, and if I get an opportunity to sit down the way we used to sit down and discuss matters in depth, I'll tell him, look, your problems are simple, your problems are easy to resolve, our problems are just failing to fly this plane with a radar. Just that. Let's go back to the radar. Let's go back to what you call default mode. Ask yourself what made you got the votes. What did you say? And what did you do? Go back there again. Forget about anything else. Stop with these stories of going to the top of the cars. Stop this story of going from eastern, western, northern, eastern, wherever it is. Just sit down. Let's use our manifesto as a radar. Save your energy. You're working, you're the captain. You don't have to move from the one end of the plane to the other. Sit down. Watch. Look at press this button. Press that one. Talk here. Press here. And the plane will stabilize and people will start having faith in you. Whether we are going to succeed on that, I do not know. But my view, and as a politician, my view as the author of the manifesto and the constitution of UDA party, I would like, if I get an opportunity to talk to him, I'll tell him, sir, with a lot of respect, we may have hit a lot of turbulence. We may have gone up and down. I'm sure even you are feeling as dizzy. Even the passengers are feeling dizzy because of this roller coaster ride. But this is the radar. This is what we need to do. This is what we told the people. This is what you just need to deliver. And you do not need to deliver 1,000 things. 1 or 2 or 3, and we are good.
Wow. And for us who are the citizens being treated to this mongrel of government, it's very sad, because if you as an MP can say you are desperate because your hands are crippled to some extent, then you can imagine what it is to be a citizen who goes to, I don't know, Kiambu level 5 hospital and can't get treatment. Thika level, is it 4, can't get treatment because SHA is not working, and all those things. So I really hope that at the end of the day, you people that are in leadership can get to some level of sanity, even for the president, so that at least we're able to move a country. Because bottom line, the country needs to move. And with this mongrel, I don't know if it's working towards that, or even it's making it worse. But we will watch and tell with time. But anyway, moving from that,
maybe on that, it's good that maybe I give you an insight on that. Two things. Number one, remember, I am still a member of UDA party. And if you use words like shareholder, I'm a shareholder in that government, having contributed blood and sweat to bring this country or to bring this government to where it is. Therefore, I have a lot of interest. And we have deliberately, some of us deliberately say, look, we cannot abdicate our responsibility, being the oversight of this government, being the representative of the people. We need to play our role as per the word and the spirit of the Constitution. So even when I'm here, I'm not here to fight the government. No. How can you fight your own? You are the midwife of this government. I have no business fighting the government at all. My role to say, look, we may have gone astray, but radar for our plane as Kenya Kwanza is here. So we changed the law on universal health. It was not in the interest of our people that we did it. It was the interest of certain profiteers who are supposed to make 104 billion from a computer system. A computer system which now is not working. There's nothing wrong repealing the law, going back to the old system, whatever name, the other name you want to call it, and allow the people to contribute whatever they are contributing. Tighten a few loose knots here and there, because there was also a lot of issues, especially on hospitals which were being paid for no work done. Tighten all those, but also on the other hand, put in government contribution as a budgetary allocation to support the people. People can continue paying what they were paying before, 300, 400, 500, but also the government need to top it up, so at least the offerings when people go to the hospital can be expanded. And even this current budget, we have provided for 6 billion shillings. There's a proposal to put in 6 billion shillings for the same. So on one hand, you are paying 1.5. On the other hand, the government is chipping in. So there's a bit of mismatch and very many questions. But the gist of it, although the government operative that do not want us to say this, the elephant in the room on the she and the sha and the sheaf is purely because there's a system which was procured. It was not procured properly. It was not competitive. There was no value proposition. For 104 billion is such a lot of money. You couldn't believe it. I do not know of a system in the world which costs that amount of money. It will not work. It will never work. And therefore, and that's what you're saying, please, you have made a mistake. I don't know whether the people will forgive you, but let's move on. Do away with this. The people get back their money. Refund, cancel that the 104 billion contract. It has not worked. If there are money which have been paid, bring it back. Let's realign back to a radar. Same thing with housing. You're saying there is all good reason why people need to have decent housing. There's all good reason why we need to spur the economy by boosting the construction industry. But at what expense? We did the numbers the other day. We said, look, even if you do 200 houses every year, those are about 10,000 houses. It's about 10,000 houses in 5 years. But how many people are you taxing? You are taxing 3.3 million people with a payslip. All right? Those people are angry with you. There are two people who are dependent on them, who are not able to get their bread every day, who are not able to get their tea with sugar each and every day, because of overtaxation, they have an issue with you. If you add this 3.3 million, add another 6.6, that's now 9.9 million people having angry with Kenya Kwanza. We don't have to look for enemies. 9.9 million. Now, park 9.9 million here. Angry people who are not going to give Kenya Kwanza a vote. For simple reason, their payslip has been thrown into tatters. Then versus the 10,000 people who are going to get those houses. Remember, they're not getting those houses for free. And assumably, even on hypothesis, you give those 10,000 houses to those 10,000 people. How can you lose 9.9 million votes against only 10,000 people are going to benefit? Is there a value proposition for that? It does not make sense. And that's why, Sarah, we are saying, very good, the spirit of that industry is good, but can we do away with this taxation? Because what you get from these people and what you get in return, the return on investment, it is shambles.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
I personally think
and that's why I say we as elected members in Kenya Kwanza, we are not fighting the government. We are just telling them, look, we may have lost the line, but here it's not making sense at all.
Wow, I hope they are listening, because these are the talks that people raise every day and complain and talk about it, but still nothing. In fact, the other day, President said SHIF is here to stay. So I really don't understand if he takes feedback from the people, honestly.
Good. Now, and I brought a very intricate point here. You are my boss. You have given me the work as a president. The first thing I'm supposed to do is to listen to you. When you step on my toe and I tell you that toe is painful, you're stepping on it, you can't insist and say X is there to stay. And I told you, if I get an opportunity to sit down with the president, over and above telling him B, go back to the fidelity of a manifesto, I'll tell him, be empathetic. Be empathetic. Have a human feeling, because you're dealing with human beings. Do not ask yourself many questions. Why are these people? When they tell you that this is painful, release. All right? When they tell you their payslip is in tatters, leave it alone. Remember, this is your country, not yours. You are only one person against 50 million people. If they tell you, let them walk with their pace. If they tell you SHIF is not working, don't try to insist, because already you are trying to flog a dead horse. All right? Go back to the default mode. Go back to where things happened. Rearrange. Because, you know, I say, human beings, we are created to sin. But you also say, a confessed sin is no longer a sin. When you confess, believe and confess, your sins are forgiven. And therefore, we live in a world of forgiveness. You are allowed to make sin. You are allowed to default. You are allowed to make mistakes. But it is wrong and immoral and unethical and unjustifiable if you continue making the same sin again and again. And therefore, I do believe the Kenyan public can forgive the president for the mistake he has done, only if he becomes empathetic and apologetic and chart a new path. And I'm saying, Sarah, that we have time. You have 2 years, or maybe 1 year, or 1 year and a half to change all those things. Today, if they come and say, okay, we may have made a mistake on this, we are changing this. We have mistake on this, we are changing like this. You say, oh, this guy is human. And that one is one of the key elements the captain of this country is lacking: empathy. Responding to people's pain. If he can just do that, he start acquiring a human face. And remember, politics is emotional.
That's true. And
It's
you
emotional.
people have mastered it proper.
Politics is emotional. And the moment you connect the politics and emotion, you are with the people. And that's why you find us in funerals. That's why you find us in weddings. That's why you find us in church, because we want to carry the empathy of our people along the way. Let me tell you, even if you build roads and build airports, buy skyscrapers, and there's no empathy in your leadership, you lose the people.
It's good you've mentioned the church, because I was going to come to that. Do politicians generally think about it where you have to make donations in church while in the same constituency, kids are learning on sitting on stones? Does it make sense for a politician to donate, say, 20 million, because that's the figure that was done by the president in Nairobi, while in the same Nairobi there are kids who can't access education, people who can't access healthcare?
On behalf of the president.
Not necessarily for
but
him generally.
I'll give you a perspective of a politician. Remember, what keeps the politician awake, or what drives a politician, is to be liked. A politician, remember, for you to give me votes, you can't give me votes on one hand and you're hating me on the other. No. And what drives the politician? The drive behind what you cannot be able to see. The fuel which fuels the politician is to be liked by the voters. Now, remember, I read a book one which said that in hell, the majority of the people you find in hell are the people who do things in good faith. In hell, the majority of the people you find in hell, I'm sure you go to heaven yourself.
I believe.
Yeah?
I hope so.
But the majority of the people who end up in hell, they're the ones who did things in good faith. But because even if you do something in good faith, the outcome is different and devastating. So good intention, but bad results. Now, this, and maybe you need to understand where there was uproar and why Moi's church, which has been a beautiful church, very nice and quiet, and people have been going there to get spiritual nourishment, it became a war zone. Because after the Gen Z, the president said, no, I'm going to come up with a law. Any public servant, any state officer must support charity with a guideline. We cannot use money to bribe the worshippers. Are you getting my point? And remember, that's one of the core demand by the Gen Z. Has that law come to Parliament? No. Has he implemented it? No. Has he gone against the same statement what he said? Yes. That's where the problem is. It's not about the 20 million. It is a person who was supposed to be the captain, because remember, and even ask yourself, a salary of a president is about 1 million shillings. If on a face value, it's about 1 million shillings. And assumably, he has his own businesses. He makes another maybe a few millions thereabout. But to donate 20 million for one church, this Sunday, the following Sunday, the other Sunday, it's only you can only fool a fool, if you can use that word, that money is yours. That money is your own money. So that the source of that money, which you are giving so easily, says something about the source. And that's why you ask a question, why would you give 20 million when there are some people, on the other hand, it would have built maybe 20 CBC classes. It would have built maybe about another, maybe 10 laboratories. It would have done, but you see now, good intention, but wrong results. So to me, again, as I said, the direction of a plane takes the character, the personality of the captain. And this country is taking the personality of the president. That's who he is. That's how he does things. We may have written this, but his mind was elsewhere, and he has no intention, or maybe he will get back to follow the straight and the narrow of our manifesto for UDA party.
I'm so sorry that to imagine you're sitting in that committee of writing this thing, then you're here saying it's never been followed from the beginning. Quite sad. However, that notwithstanding, when you see bishops like on Sunday, Bishop Ole Sapit made an announcement that politicians will not be allowed to make statements at the pulpit. We saw the rejection of money from politicians by the Catholic Church, and one of the victims was Bishop Muheria being told he's being tribal. I mean, I don't know what they're going to say about Ole Sapit because he's also gone on that direction. When you see the church getting towards this direction, will you as politicians now look for a way to be loved? Because then the ACK and the Catholic Church has said no to love politicians, sort of.
Okay, can I say that's a big relief from where I sit? Today, every week, I normally have like 5-10 cards which have been invited to contribute to churches. Being a member of parliament in this country is hard. It's hard. Because the salary you get is not for you to take home. You take it and take it back to the constituents. Most people do not understand that. Remember, if there are deaths in my constituency, the first person they call is a member of parliament. If there is somebody who has a medical condition which requires support, the first port of call, they call the office of the member of parliament. If there are churches, and you know the proliferation of churches all over, big and small, if they have a harambe, even a harambe to buy a piano in church, the first port of call to drop the card is MP's office. It's God's work. We do what we can. Otherwise, remember I told you it's important to, as a member of parliament, to be empathetic to your people. You need to ride with their aspiration, their sorrows, their joys, and what makes them tickle. You can't be left behind. You must be with them. And therefore, it's a difficult job. So when we heard that we are going to come up with a law to bring down these many harambes and these contribution churches, we were happy. Because number one, you can now then be able to support a church without the cost. Because it's not, and remember, people also are clever. People take advantage. They open churches not for the spiritual nourishment, but as a business. They are there. There are people who do that. And they're the one who are most loudy. They're the ones who you want to silence by making sure that you go to their functions. So I'm a big proponent of a legalization of charity contribution. In particular, this, number one, showing the source of revenue you are giving out. Number two, getting, when it comes to income tax declaration, showing that amount of money is currently in money contribution to charity is tax exempt, it becomes a taxable element. That way, you're only going to contribute toward the causes which you change, causes of research, causes of medical support, and this kind of thing. Otherwise, it is a pain to members of parliament. It is, because again, I can't fold my hands when my people want me to be their churches, want me to support them in medical, want me to help them in education and this kind of thing. I need to be with them. But again, at the same time, the element within the society which use that as an advantage against that fluid kind of regulation.
Do you think MPs have created a systematic failure to ensure they are the gods? Because if you had a system of health, if you push to have a working system of health, people won't call you for harambes.
I want to say it's when a system breaks down, or when a system breaks down, it's not only one party breaks down. It's almost all the parts. When the society gives in, it does not give in only one aspect. Because why would we be talking about harambes for churches, and yet we have the tithing and the usual the tithings and the usual sadaka, all right? Me, I know of a church which has a rule that it does not do any harambes. They work within their means. But how many of them who do that? So you can see, same church, but people acquire different strategies. Why would we today be talking about supporting people in hospitals, yet they contribute to affordable housing? Do people do that in Europe? Do people do that in America? No, they don't. They contribute to the service, the medical service provider, and when they get sick, they are taken care of. Done. Why is it not working here? Are we together? Why are we having a problem with our roads? We pay taxes. Why would you call a member of parliament to come and do road for you and you pay taxes?
The onus remains on lawmakers.
I get my point.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I will tell you that I am one of the people who opposes the role the members of parliament have been given doing things like CDF. Because the role of a member of parliament is to oversight, is to legislate, and to represent. It's not to oversight a fund to take care of roads, to take care of the security.
But you're the people fighting to have CDF.
Let me bring you home.
Yeah.
But the question is, if the MP does not oversight that, who will?
There is the national committee.
Good. And
it
why?
Should be.
Good. If it is a working committee, why was then that law brought up? It was brought up because that committee had failed to work.
Then what did you do to them as MPs? When a committee fails, you don't. Now you step up.
Let me give the structure of the government.
But still,
let me give the structure of a government. A government at the national level, they come up with a budget. Now and then create institutions to deliver those services. Yes. All right. What the CDF Act did is just to bring in the member of parliament to oversight. Remember, a member of parliament does not write a check. All right. Neither does he even account. But he goes to the committee, which is a totally independent body, and says, look, they have done a public participation with my people. And in the Gatanga constituency, one of the biggest problem is that our schools are in bad shape. They need refurbishment because they are old schools. They need to be brought up. All right? We remove the roofs, we do the floors with tiles, we clean up the school, we make sure that the school is nice and neat, it's a good environment. You, as a member of parliament role, is to tell the committee, this is what my people, as their representative, because I am playing the role of a representative, then I oversight to ensure what they wanted has been done. So it is not in conflict. It's not in conflict at all. The only thing is that the law has brought in, has prescribed that that some of these things before they happen, the person who has been elected by the people, who represent their aspirations, who represent their needs, must also be in the know. But it does not sign anywhere. In fact, today, if my CDF team messes up, I'm the first person to bring this matter to parliament. I'm the first person to bring this before the committee. I'm the first person to talk to the MD to summon these people to account for X, Y, Z. But remember, a member of parliament does not sign a check anywhere, but he oversights.
Okay, and they love that oversight part because there's benefits that are.
They're not benefits. I'll tell you.
Really?
Zero. Look, I give a good example. Gatanga constituency, I've got 87 primary and junior secondary schools. My plan is to refurbish all those schools. On average, I've allocated each school about 5 million to refurbish. Change the roof, change the floors, put down the tiles, redo a painting, do a bit landscaping for them to look like an academy, a good learning institution. Sarah, if you try to touch 1 cent, and that if you say if 87 multiplied by 5 million, you're talking about close about 42, 44, maybe about you're talking about like you're talking about maybe about close about 480 to 500 million in 5 years' time. what, even if you want to make money, will you make money on the paint which is going to be painted, on the roof which is being replaced, on the tiles which is being replaced, or what? Does not make sense. Does not make sense. The most important thing is to let the contractors do their job, go there and supervise the work, ensure the value for money. The people of Gatanga constituency get the value for money. I'm not paid for it. I use my own resources to make sure that work is done properly. I go around all my schools to make sure that work has been done, but I'm not paid a cent. Come to these things like bursary. Like, for example, next week, I'm going to issue bursary. I've got, in the constituency, I've got 57 local schools, and I'll go to all those schools, giving each and every school their checks, because I'll make sure, and I'm giving each a student 5,000 bob. It's a lot of money, especially for day schools. But does CDF pay for my fuel? Does it take for my maintenance? Doesn't. I use my own money. So I'll tell you, and I remember, Sarah, for me, I came from a corporate world. I am a corporate commercial lawyer. These are very new world for me. You are paid some money, and all that money you spend running the whole constituency. But again, as I told you, I am on sabbatical. I just say, let me chip back to my community. Let me chip back to the people who have brought me up. Let me chip back to the people who have brought me up and people who have made me to be whom I am. After I've done my part, I go back to my businesses.
Out. So you're not complaining, of course.
I'm not complaining at all, but I'm giving the scenario so at least, because again, people from outside, they think an MP, he gets money from CDF, he gets money from the other. In fact, one time we had a conversation, and someone made a very interesting statement, saying, no, members of parliament, the people who are paid most in the country, they are the ones who make so much money, that's why they're able to go back the big cars and blah, 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 blah. Now, then I took them through how much they get, how much they spend, how much they're left with. Some members of parliament, if you tell them to give you 5,000 bob, they can't be able to give you. They don't have.
Not you, though. Moving on, however, from this discussion about MPs, Kenya has recently been banned by Sudan from sending any exports due to our support for RSF forces, or perceived support. What's your take on that, and what is this doing to our diplomacy and foreign policy as Kenya generally?
Everything goes back to the captain. Because, historically Kenya has been known to be a peacemaker, non-aligned. We brought peace in Somalia. We have brought peace in southern Sudan. And we've been a peacemaker across the region. That's our reputation as a country. And when people have issues, this Kenya used to be the first port of call. But I'll tell you, Sarah, if you ask, sometimes it's when some of the things which comes on the table, you ask, what was the value proposition of a country hosting a rebel in that other country, and giving them sanctuary to do their own things? What is the value proposition? And you don't need to be a genius to know that the value proposition can only be a personal gain. It's not a gain for the country. And again, that goes against the spirit of leadership, because we are given power by the people to wake up each and every day to do things for their own benefit. My people in Gatanga constituency, they have lost such a significant market of tea. I met the directors of because I've got 2 factories in my constituency, and they really lamented. Sudan has been one of the largest uptakes or buyers of Kenya tea. Once they close down, the impact is there to down the farmer. So the question is, for this government to entertain those rebels in this country, were they doing that for the benefit of our tea farmers? Were they doing that for the benefit of Kenyan manufacturers who send their things to the Sudan? No. It can only be a personal benefit. And that's why there's what we call a conflict of interest between the public interest and a personal interest. This is just a rumor, is that part of where those rebels control, there's a lot of gold, and Kenya is being destined to be used as a conduit for exporting that gold to Dubai and other Middle East countries. Whether that's true or not, but that is what has come out in the media as a motivation. Otherwise, when as a member's representative, I would say, as Kenyans, we have gotten no value for it. Come to the issue about the issue of the M23 in Congo. You remember previously about like a year or so, there was a bit of diplomatic tiff between Kenya and Congo, and where DRC accused Kenya of hosting a rebel group who were launching themselves in our soil to go and destabilize DRC. Again, same thing. You ask yourself, the people have given this government an opportunity to take care of their interest, to guard their foreign policy interest, to make friends with the foreign countries. Why would you allow a rebel government to come and set up here, announce here, to go and destabilize a friendly neighboring country? If it's not for the benefit of the people, it can only be a personal conflict, a personal interest. And that's why you find, even when the president called for a meeting to reconcile the varying groups in DRC, they said no, because you are conflicted. You are conflicted. Happened? So the damage in terms of the damage it has caused for the reputation of this country is unimaginable. The ranking among the countries which can be relied on, and the damage is unimaginable. Can't believe it. You as a citizen visiting DRC, you are looked upon as an enemy as opposed to a friend. You saw the other day what they did. They banned the embassy in Kinshasa. They even banned the consul in Goma. Remember, we have banks in Kenya, institutions in Kenya, insurance companies in Kenya, businessmen in Kenya who are doing business in Congo. Where have you put them? By that very act of acting against the interests of your country. It's in shambles. That's why I said the captain need to be shaken up.
And this captain is the chairperson of EAC at the moment.
Here we are.
So what happens? Looking into the fact that as the chairperson of EAC, you drive the agenda of the community, would we have issues now with these other member states?
Your answer is as good as mine. If you're the chairman of AUC and you have a candidate and you have worked this candidate as a Secretary General of African Union in almost all the 52 countries in Africa, and he cannot be able to get the votes. You have held his hand, walk around with him, given him planes, given him even money, and he can't be voted. What does it tell you about it? It tells you that your relationship it's because purely diplomatic. Your relationship with other countries, they do not hold you in the high esteem you think they are. They will entertain you, they will listen to you, they will think about it, but they cannot be able to make a commitment. If Uganda did not vote for Raila, Tanzania did not vote for Raila, DRC did not vote for Raila, South Africa did not vote for Raila, what does that tell you? It's a big problem and it's a big shame. But again, I keep on saying, we can make a mistake, but let's remedy that mistake. Because Kenya need to move forward. We need to start exporting our things in DRC Congo. We need to start exporting our things in Southern Sudan. We cannot live like a pariah of a country, which work is to fund, to support rebels in those countries, to stabilize them. The interest, we are losing much, much more than we are gaining. And to me, that is the challenge which you're having right now. That we are not able to separate personal interest and a national interest, and as a result, there's a conflict, and the people who are losing it are the Kenyan people.
Very true. What is your take on the leadership of West Africa, especially in the Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where they are led by people who took over through coup? But then the feedback we've been getting about Burkina Faso is that the country is really on a very good trajectory, yet not in terms of not independently, so to say.
As a student of law and democracy, sometimes I fault democracy. Because as I said earlier, the trajectory of the country when an elected leader takes over takes his character and personality. And I give maybe an example of Kibaki. Kibaki, when he took power, he allowed the forces of democracy to take space. He allowed the forces of demand and supply in a capitalism country to take space. The shackles, the bans which were put by the previous government, he put them aside. And suddenly the country thrived. By his character, people are calling him all manner of names. Is he no evil? Here no evil. Or hands-off kind of a president. But you see, when he did that, the economy grew in leaps and bounds. Now, the other leaders who come in and crunches on each and every activity. That before a check is paid in a certain ministry, he needs to know. Every tender, he's there. Every procurement, he's there. Now, you can see now what happens. Every decision to be made, he must be consulted. He's a micromanager. Now, that will stifle the growth of this country. Now, what happened in West Africa? West Africa, and you know, to me, I normally say they're more vibrant politically than we are. Them, they see a wrong government, they overthrow it. They see another wrong government, they overthrow it. And not necessarily they do it for the good of the people. No, some of them, of course, overthrow those governments for their own personal interest. But by coincidence or by design or by default, they are countries whereby they are taken over by the military and they thrive. Look at Egypt. Look at Egypt. Look at monarchies like the ones of Dubai and the like. Look at Singapore. Singapore is a semi-democracy, and many other countries. So my point is that democracy is not necessarily a panacea, is not the silver bullet for development. Because the moment you're given power, remember you're given that power in trust to execute all the instruments of power, be it treasury, be it military, be it whatever it is, be it parliament. You are given that power over everybody else. Now, your personality and your morality will determine the direction that country will take.
So you sort of just saying that you are in support of what is happening because if it's growing, it's the end justifies the means for West Africa at this point. Yeah?
I said democracy is not a panadol. It's not a silver bullet. And I also explained to you as a political scientist to tell you that politics of the day takes the personality and the morality of the captain. And I hope you understand what I'm saying. In the same analogy, the captain of those countries, the country are taking projection because of the personality and morality of their captains. They do not go very far away. If, for example, is a captain who does not tolerate corruption, he will deal with corruption perpendicularly and horizontally, and you come to an end.
That's true.
But if is a captain who fraternizes with corruption from time to time, naturally, you take the same direction. So it's obvious. It's obvious. And you don't have to be a nuclear scientist to know the DNA of a captain of a certain country.
All right. So Kenya is going through, not at the moment, but there are predictions that we are having issues of ARVs scarcity. And this is because of the USAID freeze that was given by President Trump in terms of financing our health sector. As an MP, what are you guys looking up to ensure that the health sector is covered, considering a lot of budgetary for that sector has been coming from the international space?
Number one, I'm a great supporter of Trump policies. It's a high time countries rely with their own self in terms of resources. Aid, and I'm sure there are many books about the problem with aid. The aid which we get does not make us stronger as a country. It makes us weaker and poorer. It makes us weaker and poorer. We call it outpatient support, and yet you're not sick. You are being supported, but you're not sick. And therefore, you tend to become you rely on that support instead of being creative on how to take care of your own people. 60, going to 65 years of independence, we can't be relying on America. We need to be having our own medicine in this country. We need to be creating, make sure that we have, that's like India did. We are able to create what they call generics for ARVs in this country. Furthermore, we have Cambridge. What does Cambridge do? We have research stations. What do they do? That is what they're supposed to be doing. But because they've been fed with the medicine, there's no purpose, there's no need for research. For me, I support Trump 100%. Kill aid in developing and developed countries. Kill aid in Kenya. Let's depend on ourselves. Let's be creative. Let's manage our budget properly. Let's remember, and it is on record, you are told $1 billion shilling is stolen every day. Even that for 1.1 trillion budget, you saw almost 3.3 billion is going to just for taking care of the running the government. The money is going to take care of the development is maybe about 700 billion, which is neither here nor there. It's a very small percentage. It's even less than 10%. So what are we saying? We are more encouraging consumption, and we are not encouraging research. We are not encouraging manufacturing. We are not encouraging what you call the foundation of creating a prosperous nation. When you take 4.1 trillion and then 3.3 trillion goes to take care of running the government, what is he running? What is he running? You allocate 5 billion to NIS, you allocate another maybe about 25 billion to the military, and then you ask additional budget, what is you're paying? So my point is very simple. We have our priorities upside down.
And we must fix them, of course.
Absolutely.
Now, besides politics and law, what do you do for fun? If there's anything.
Okay, I of course I play golf. I am a golfer. But I've been, again, I think politics took a lot of my time. You can see even where I am right now. If I'm in my commercial private practice, you know have called me here. But you can see I'm here and I spend like an hour or so. I'll be doing other things. I used to play saxophone. I used to do jam sessions in friends' houses, not commercially, in friends' houses, in birthdays.
You can still do that now.
I'm very good in playing saxophone. I do alto sax.
Oh.
In terms of guitar, I'm not very good. I have got very soft. Guitar likes people with hard skin because of the wires. The wires, they mess your fingers. They mess your fingers. I try, but I'm not very good. But I'm very good in alto sax. In fact, the day Sarah invite me on your birthday, I'll come with the alto sax, and I'll play it.
This is
but
marked
on one
for
condition.
This year.
On one condition, Sarah.
Okay.
Keep your handkerchief close.
Okay.
Because you might start tearing.
Guys, I'm ready. You heard it. I already have my birthday for this year sorted. So fantastic. And it's an MP who will be playing for me, guys. What a wow.
Yeah,
Something else I realized, I was watching something on PLO's book club, and I think I saw you there.
Yes.
You read books.
Yes, I am an avid reader. I try to read as much as I could. I deliberately put off the phone away in the evening when I go home just to allow me to read one page, because I came to discover, before the phones became a craze, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that news, whatever, and even WhatsApp, one would have sat down outside somewhere, read a book comfortably, and for me, a book is a sleeping pill. So, but you find that with the advent of all these sources of information, you tend to keep your hands more on your phone as opposed to your book. But again, it's a matter of personal discipline. I am in actually 2 books clubs, and they are more also a social club, because again, to meet people of like-minded common interests is not easy. You have mentioned one where we are with PLO Lumumba and many other friends, and we read widely African literature, motivational books, non-fictions, and we meet almost after every 2 months. We meet in someone's house. We extrapolate the book, we discuss the book, and we read the other one.
What are you reading at the moment?
We are reading a very interesting book called The Deals which has changed the world. The Deals which have changed the world. It's my proposal. I want to propose that book, and it shows you how business and politics are intertwined. Today, if you look at the Twitter and look at the TikTok, Donald Trump is walking around with Elon Musk. So it means something. It means there's something they're doing with Elon Musk that's in the space where Elon Musk is, and it gives a lot of it's a very interesting book because it comes up with how the commercial world created a problem to make money. For example, it's very interesting. There are all these manner of vitamins, nutrients, blah, 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 blah. And they're very crazy. We have many shops these days in town which are selling all anti-aging vitamins and serums or whatever. That is an industry created by someone. He came and said, look, the food you're eating does not have enough vitamins. The food does not have the nutrients to make your skin radiant. You need to be taking these kind of products to be able to look nice, boost your health, boost your vitamins. But the question is, yes, you go and take them. Where do you go and check and find out where they are working? Those things are very expensive.
I'm laughing because one of our cameramen was very busy telling us last week the way he's working on his nutrients.
Yes, but I need to know, there's no bad to do what they're doing, but I need to know this is someone who has created a problem, and I've created a problem, and I brought a solution to make money. And there are many examples. It's very interesting. Today, we are on a phone. Why are we on a phone? And remember I was saying, as a reader, the phone has taken away a lot of my time from reading. Yeah. All right? And you find every social setting, I'm holding my phone. Who is making money out of that? He has created a habit. He has given me a habit which I didn't have. That habit, he must profiteering from it. And that's the owner of this phone.
They call it consumerism theories.
Exactly. And the content creators in this phone, they are the ones who are making money at my expense. Without it helping me, but some people are commercializing on those kind of habits. Just those kind of examples, and they're very interesting. The last book which I had proposed was a book called Why Nations Fail.
Yes.
A very interesting book.
That one I have read.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Fantastic. And you see, when you read that book, you see Kenya in its own nakedness. Yeah. Extractive government, which extracts money from people and give them nothing in return. All right? And the result of that is breeding poverty. we are given an example of America and its neighbor, Mexico. Mexico is extractive. America, it's supportive. The economies over years are different. And you are given a boundary of a city in Mexico and the other city across the border in America, and you compare the two, you can't believe it. One is a shack, the other one is a prosperous city. So it's, again, we read this because people look up to us to start to interpret, like you, for example, what you have done, to interpret certain situations like we have seen, and ask yourself, where are we where we are? And therefore, for me, I would like to encourage even the Gen Zs to be readers, because we normally say information is power. My library have got more than maybe 5,000 books. Some are referral, and you can, and I normally find myself, whenever someone has an issue, I tell them, I'll give you my book for 2 days, but before you, just to see what that book will help you, if you like it, go and buy your own. Yeah?
You're not gifting them.
I'm not gifting them, because I want them also to create their own library.
Yeah.
So I have that kind of library where I refer people. I remember the other day I referred people to a book called The Power of Now. The Power of Now, my friend had a problem of sleeping. Why? He was telling me he can't be able to sleep because when he go to sleep, there are all manner of ideas and noises in his head, and arguments in his head. He's still arguing with himself, and that makes him not to sleep. I refer him to that book. That book is very interesting because it tells you that your brain is not you. You know, people confuse the brain and you. The brain is just an organ, like a hand, a leg, just like that. And therefore, just the way you control your hand, you can control your brain. And just give the mechanics of going about it. They call it listening to the noise, listening to the noisemaker. Because when you listen to the noisemaker becomes shy. It shuts down and you sleep. He came back and told me, after reading the book, he did not take any pills. Now he's living like a baby. By doing what? By controlling
the mind.
Very
interesting book. Maybe I need to do that. By that, since you've mentioned Elon and Trump, I don't know if you've been following their story on the issue of South Africa and trying to fight the issue of their land law.
Yeah, I saw that in passing. I've not read it in detail. But again,
what do you think they're up to?
Well. I last year I went to South Africa and to Cape Town. And I happened to travel around. Sarah, I will tell you, if you go to South Africa, is a very sad case. Sad case because you ask for an Uber, you want to go to a certain neighborhood, they tell you no. Me, I don't go to those neighborhoods. Why? They're dangerous. Why? Because what happened, South African got independence politically, but they never got independence economically. So they're still confined in townships. Those townships are poorly taken care of. They are poorly policed, and that's where all the thuggery happens. You go there, you drop somebody, you are robbed. Now, if you fly over Cape Town, that's when you see the sad story. You see shanties on one hand, you see wineries on the other. All right? They can't go together. So, and for me, I normally say that maybe Mandela rushed to take South Africa for independence. Maybe would have taken slightly more to liberate not only their political independence, but the economic. They are not properly, the Emancipation Proclamation to emancipate them from poverty has not been addressed. They're still very, very poor. They're still very, very poor. The power is still the majority is still in the less than 10% of that country. Now, coming to the issue of Elon Musk, and I think Elon Musk has his ancestry in South Africa or something like that. And is this the same South Africa which had gone to Hague, accusing Israel of atrocities in Gaza? Now, then the question is: are they is South Africa and America, are they aligned politically? The answer is no. America is pro-Israel. South Africa is pro-Hamas and Gaza. And therefore, you can now be able to see where the story coming in. So and addressing some of these issues can come through different channels and different levels. And remember also Elon Musk has a lot of influence on Trump in terms of policies, in the terms of the kind of industry they want to run. So I won't be surprised pushing America to address the land question in South Africa in favor of the whites. But again, we are where we are. But I think maybe the saving grace, and I saw that in the first term of Trump. Trump has no business. He does not interfere with African affairs. In fact, at one time, he called us names.
We were a shithole continent.
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word. I don't want to use that word. So, in his eyes, we have no role in greater politics of the world, and that's why you find he has not invited any African leader to go to America to go and meet. Remember, the first person he met was the president or the prime minister of Israel. Those are the people. Those are the kind of policy you want to do. The other one is the president of Ukraine. So you can see how low-ranking Africa is. But again, it's where it is. But I think for me, we are still observing to see what will come to South Africa from America because of this issue between Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Do you think Trump is going to manage to end the Russia-Ukraine war?
I think from what I've seen, he has made a bold step. And he has made a bold step in term number one, bringing in the president of Ukraine on the table. And he also made certain declaration on the NATO issues and the European Union positions on issue about Ukraine. And number two is I like him because he's a decisive guy. You wouldn't be surprised to find him in Russia, having a cup of tea with Vladimir Putin. And he's an action guy, and he's fearless. You saw him the first time he went all the way to Korea, North Korea, to meet a guy who nobody has ever met, never met. So with his policy, and a policy in particular on American first, because America has said it's not going to support the Ukraine war anymore. It's draining the resources of America. And what they want now is to make sure that to make America more richer, to bring back the investments and bring back the manufacturing in America. Chances are that war will come to an end. Remember, in the bigger scale of wars, war is an industry. War is an industry. Big countries, developed countries start in war, so at least their war manufacturing industry can soak in the funds and expand. It's an industry to be able to make sure that the stocks in the military, artillery and whatever is being utilized, so that those factories can keep on manufacturing. So the wars are like that. It's also an industry which is pushed by the country's economy. So expect something to happen in that front also.
Something coming soon. Okay, your final message to Kenyans and in answering the question where you see the future of Kenya.
Mine is to encourage Kenyans at 3 levels. Number one, and I tell them there is hope. I know when you read the newspaper, you read the social media, you find Kenyans are lamenting about this government and how it has let them down. But I am very hopeful that in the remaining 2 years, this current regime will see the mistake they have made and they'll change their way. For me, I'm a guardian of hope. But number two, I also say they should not relent or sleep in their laurels. They need to keep on agitating for good governance, accountability, because remember, Article 1 of the Constitution has given power to every Kenyan. The sovereignty of this country sits with the people. The power sits with the people, and therefore never ever renegate. You saw there are certain moves which are being made by this government, and when you raise, and a good example is about the removal of the Chief Justice. That Chief Justice, if it was not for Rigathi Gachagua, that the Chief Justice would be out by now, and the entire Supreme Court bench. But you see, the moment you shout and say, look, we know what you want to do. You want to create to bring your own bench to be able to manage the 2027 election, and that clamor comes to an end. I want them to talk about corruption. I want them to talk about the social health. I want them to talk about the issue about the overtaxation. I want them to talk about abduction and killing of people because for political reasons. Because that's the only way we can be able to create a fair and a progressive country. And finally, we are having an opportunity in 2027, in 2 years' time to go. And that election will be determined by the Gen Z. People of our age are the minority, Gen Z are the majority. But let us learn from our mistakes in the past, because it's only a fool who does a mistake once and repeat it again and expect different results. Changing leaders will not going to give us a solution, because we move from one to another who has the same kind of DNA and kind of policies. And therefore, we need to be very, very careful not to vote on emotion, not to vote on tribe, not to vote, but we vote on conscience. People with track record, people whose history have shown they have the interest of the country at heart. Otherwise, changing leaders because he's a tribesman, changing leaders because the man has been there, changing leaders because at one time he said X, Y, Z, is going to change this country. And therefore, let us learn from the pain which Kenyans are feeling. Let us learn the mistake we have made. We expected people to change their DNA and they cannot change. And the next election, we elect the right people who can be able to move this country to the next generation. And for my great people of Gatanga, I want to just say thank you for the opportunity to lead you. I'll do everything possible to make sure that my promises to elevate the education standards, to elevate the water connectivity in the constituency, to ensure our children are fed in primary school feeding program, to ensure that our roads are also done, to ensure that electricity has been connected. I still believe I have an opportunity those 2 remaining years to ensure that promises are being or are well fulfilled, so at least we can have a conversation thereafter. Otherwise, thank you very much, the Alfa House, for the opportunity to host me, and I'm very, very happy that all the good you're doing, educating Kenyans.
Super grateful to you, Wakili Edward Muriu. I hope the third name I pronounced proper. Muriu. Okay. No, it's a bit confusing the two. But yeah, thank you so much for gracing Fanya Mambo Africa show. We appreciate, and it's such an intriguing conversation, and also to see their leaders actually who have the heart of the people, and somehow you are trying your level best to push for better for Kenya. Thank you to you who's been our audience today, watching to the end. We appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next episode. But for now, keep reminding the MP that my birthday is coming and he has to play.
I'll play saxophone for you.
Saxophone, fantastic.
Alto sax.
Oh, wow.
You can decide whether we're going to do the gospel. I'm very good at the gospel. Or you want us to just play the oldies. You give the list. I'll prepare before. And when I come down there, please make sure your white handkerchief is ready. Because you cry, not a tear, tears.
Wow. I'm happy. I can't wait. The guys will be there to show you the videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Asante sana, Wakili.
My pleasure.